Alright everybody, welcome to another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. Today we are grinding the World Tournament and we're hanging out in voice chat with the number 2 global grinder, Discord. Discord, how you doing?
Yo, what's up guys? Happy to be here. How's it going, Stark?
It's a grind. You know how it is. I understand you're also grinding on JP even though you're a global main.
Yes, I am.
How's that going? So
not going as hard.
Fair enough. Where are you at?
I'm currently 40th. I don't know where I'll end up. Either top 50 or top 30, most likely. We'll just see how it goes.
Not going as hard. Just, 30th. Alright, so the reason I asked you to be here today is so you can really just talk about the World Tournament, your experiences. I know a lot of players assume that the top 10 don't sleep, barely eat. Sometimes they hand their phone to their friend, and so they can take a nap, and they have 2 people grinding at the same time. But I want to hear your experiences. I know personally from hanging out with you and grinding these World Tournaments all the time, but I know that the average viewer hates World Tournament. Can't blame them. But they don't know what you go through. So why don't you give us a personal view on what it's like to top 10 a World Tournament?
All right. So I will preface this. Since the release of the EZA medals on I think the 44th World Tournament, the grind has significantly increased. It's become significantly harder to get into a top ranking spot. The amount of points you need, the amount of wins you need have all gone up significantly since before then. Especially on the very first World Tournament where they were available. So that's when I started going much harder on World Tournament, because when that came out, only the top 10 people were able to get the best reward pool for the EZA medals. If you didn't score top 10 in that tournament, you would have to wait until the next tournament to grind to get all of the medals you needed to Extreme Dead Awaken all of the new units. Before then, I was in top 10 a couple of times, and in my experience then, it was not so bad. During the daytime, I would grind all day. I wake up, I would have a shower, brush my teeth, all of those things. Then I'd get on my phone, right? Pull out my phone and grind World Tournament. I would still eat and take care of myself and everything. Often I would be playing while eating, not while showering. That's not easy. And then, at the end of the day, probably around 10, maybe a little later, I would go to sleep. And I'd have a full night's sleep. Somewhere between 6 and 8 hours, depending on how I was feeling, depending on how difficult the tournament was at that point in time. And then on the final day, I would not go to sleep. So I would average, 12 to 14 hours, 12 to 16 hours of sleep per tournament. Not all that bad.
Okay, so that's 8 hours.
With the update,
that's 8 hours of sleep a day if you break it down. Obviously, split up over the course of 2.5 days. But then at the end of the tournament, you sleep in for another 8 hours, I'm sure.
Yes. So the way it works out is because it takes place over 3 days on Global instead of the 2 on JP. I would get 8 hours of sleep per night on the first 2 nights, or 6 to 8 hours of sleep. And then on the final night, I would not sleep until the World Tournament was over. And that would be at about 7 AM my time. So at 7 AM, I would then go to sleep for the rest of the day. If I wasn't free Monday, I would have to cut my grind short. But that wasn't really a problem that I ran into.
And that's just the top 10.
Yes, that's just the top 10. Obviously, if you want to score lower, then it was easier. However, there is one more caveat I want to add on here, which is your grind rate is affected significantly by the team you're able to run. If you're aiming for a top spot, if you don't have the right team, you can slow down by a win or 2 wins per hour over the person above you. over the course of the whole tournament, that's a significant decrease, and would mean that if you wanted to score highly, then you'd have to either dip into your sleep a lot more heavily, or you wouldn't score higher.
Ooh, that was a little loud. Sorry about that. Okay, so you said wins per hour. On average, how many wins on a world tournament do you get for top 10? Just give me your top 10 average wins.
Top 10 average wins. I couldn't really tell you because it changes from tournament to tournament, and so does the amount I get because I'm not always 10th. You know, I'm 4th, sometimes I'm 7th, sometimes I'm 9th.
Okay.
So the amount of wins I get will change significantly there. Normally, it's not to try and get a higher title, because especially before titles were out, that wasn't really the priority. It's just because I want to be safe in my position.
Okay. So,
however,
let me ask this.
I don't know if you can put this in, Stark, but we do have a chart here provided by Cuckoo, another top grinder, showing the amount of points and per tournament and which tournament they were.
Yes. Give me one moment, and I will. I'll bring that up so everyone at home can see. How many wins did you have last World Tournament before your second place win? The World Tournament prior to your big win.
In the World, just let me check real quickly. It was. Oh no, I don't have my screenshot. I'm not sure, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring up this
it was
chart for
I think it was 750. I think it was 750 wins.
Okay.
So when I came 4th, and just to be clear, if we have a look at this chart, that tournament I came 4th in is the 44th. So that one right there, as you can see, is the most competitive world tournament there has been in a very long time.
Yeah.
And
First
that
place
was
had
the
what,
day
900 million points.
Yeah.
Just shy of 1 billion points, literally.
Yes.
And third had 853 points. So you were between 785 and 853. Because that's where 10th place was.
Yes, that's right. I was.
Okay.
It's a surprisingly small region, actually. But that was because the EZA medals. It was because that tournament, you didn't get top 10. You had to wait an entire extra tournament. And these tournaments can be very far apart sometimes. Right now, it's been something like 3 months since the last World Tournament.
A little closer so people can see it. Alright, so 853 million points. On average is what? How many wins?
It's normally the points are slightly above the wins.
Yeah, I'm
so
sitting
I
at
would
just
estimate
under...
that to be
Go ahead.
somewhere, I don't know, 800 wins-ish. I normally count my wins as opposed to looking at my score, because I find that's a more reliable way to measure my progress.
Yeah.
Something I used to do, and this when I was grinding, slightly lower, I would set myself win goals. I did this right up until the 44th World Tournament, actually, where I would just say, I'm going to get X many wins a day. The first time I did it was, 100. The second time, 150. Because every time you do it, you're like, I can go further. And then once I hit that, I would stop. If you're not aiming for top 10, I think that's a very good way to go about it.
Fair
On the 44th World Tournament, that was the final time I did that. I was aiming for 250 wins a day, which I ended up hitting.
So that'd be 750 wins at the end of the tournament. Okay. And right here, guys, shout out to Cuckoo. Cuckoo's on Twitter. Please go ahead and give him a follow. Great guy, does a lot of work for helping understand things in the community. So definitely give him a follow on Twitter and let me know who sent you. Now, back to this chart, because we got the 45th World Tournament. This is the last one this is the last one you did, correct?
I think so, yes.
So you were between 854 million and 828 million this time around.
Yes, that's right. I can give you the exact number, actually.
As I say, I believe we managed to score a screenshot of that because you you snuck in at the last second to overtake Lotad for second place.
Yes, that's right.
It was very neck and neck in that
close.
final
If you
run.
look at this screenshot, which I believe Stark is going to put on screen, this is the screenshot that I took when I won my final win, right before the end of the tournament. And it shows me scoring third. But the World Tournament updates every 15 minutes to show your actual placement. This was a minute before the update, and also a minute before the World Tournament actually ended.
So there you go.
That
805
right there,
wins.
yes, that win right there pushed me over the edge from third to second, and it hasn't shown on there.
Yeah, because it has you at overall ranking third, but you do have the title for second.
Yes, and if you look at this screenshot, which I'm also sending over, you can see the amount of points is exactly the same, and I've moved up to second by the most fractional of margins. That's about 1/10 of a win of worth of points.
Hold on one moment. My computer's deciding to fight me here. What do you mean it's the same name? It's DOKKAN, same name update. Let's go. Alright, here we go.
We can only hope.
Here we go. So, here you go. Tripsy, the #1 grinder. One of the best in the game. And he only had to beat by 30 million points. That's a lot and not a lot all at the same time.
I mean, if you look at that chart again, if you move it out of the way of the chart, the 44th and, well, it's the 45th actually, but I'm thinking of the 44th, where the difference between third and 10th was only twice as big. Third and 10th compared to second and first.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a huge difference.
It's a pretty crazy difference. I will also say, now, while we're on the subject of Tripsy, something which I hear a lot of times from people who do not grind World Tournament is they think a lot of people at the top are cheating. That's not true. Tripsy, the person who has come first in the previous 2 World Tournaments, ever since titles came out, Tripsy has come first in every World Tournament, and he streams the whole thing.
First or second, I remember.
He's never handing up his phone.
I think he has a second place title. I think Boxer has 1 first place title.
That's I'm not 100% sure of the details.
That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant.
Yes. Either way, he streams the whole thing.
Yep,
and
he is live the entire time.
I am not live, but I always hang out with some friends in VC for the duration of the tournament. So I'm not handing off my phone. I'm not. So I'm going to go through them in an order. The first thing that you hear is botting, or auto. Like getting something to tap the screen for them, stuff like that.
Auto tappers.
That's not viable, because you would die a lot. It's impossible to get something to pick the right unit to put in the right place, and also use the item and all that stuff correctly. You could get it to use an usher every turn, but in the prelims, that would fail, because you would run out of ushers. And also, board movement is RNG reliant. You wouldn't be able to use an auto. You wouldn't be able to make it automatic. You would have to interact with the game on a very frequent basis. And if you have to do that, you're at your phone the whole time. You just actually do it. Even if you could set up some kind of auto or some kind of bot to do it for you, it would be much slower than doing it yourself. And the top rankings are all about consistency and speed and effectiveness.
That's fair. That's very understandable. I have a question.
Yep.
If a player wants to try to, say, grind up a decent amount of points, how would you recommend they build their team? Don't name specific units, but give me the more important details to building a effective grinding team, and then you can name some units as examples.
Okay. I know you said not to name some units, but on the whole, it is a very limited pool of units that you really want to bring into World Tournament. For a decent amount of points, the most important thing is AoE units. You want unit to attack all enemies on super. Preferably also units who can consistently get that super. So a unit like LR Margin Vegeta, you would either have to bring an orb changing or an orb support item, or replace him with a more reliable AoE. And you obviously want them under a full leader skill, preferably 120% or higher, because at 30 times, you might fail to kill if you're not under a high enough leader skill.
Okay.
Then what you want to do, so the strategy is obviously to try and launch your AoE super as quickly as possible. Piccolo Jr. is obviously really good at this, and that's why he's the current World Tournament king. But if you don't have him, or he's not on rotation, you'll put your strongest, most reliable AoE unit in the first slot, and get them to super. If it's an attack first, you want to use an Usher, because these attacks will end your run if they're a super attack, and there's always a chance it's a super attack. Unless you're in the preliminaries. So in the preliminaries, this is a myth I've heard before. Some people think the preliminaries can super you. They can't. I never use an Usher in the preliminaries, and I've never been supered in the preliminaries. And all of the other top grinders have the same experience. But they can one-shot you with a basic. So unless you've got type effectiveness, I would use a Yemma. If it's, 3 attacks right up front before you attack, I might use an Usher then. But on the whole, you can save an Usher by using just one Yemma, and that will let you survive. When you're not in the preliminaries, any attack can be a super attack, and any super attack will kill you. You're under half a leader skill, and their attack stats are far too high for your HP stat. If there's an attack up front, use an item. Mostly an Usher. And then use your AoE attacks. Sorry, I'm a little all over the place in my explanation. But the gist of it is, super all enemies at once with a strong super. When you're building AoE units, make sure you have as much critical hit in the potential system as possible.
Why critical hit and not additional?
Now, no. Additionals, first of all, 50% of the time they are basics, which are not helpful in World Tournament. And second of all, a crit will always kill in World Tournament. If you've got a leader skill, then a crit super will always kill. That's why Strength Piccolo is such a good unit to bring. Because he gets guaranteed crits against multiple enemies. It's once only, but that's all you need in World Tournament.
Interesting. Okay, but what about team cost? Does that affect the game?
Yes, it does. So the way team cost interacts with World Tournament is whichever team you bring, the opponent will bring a team of similar team cost. And when defeating opponent with high team cost, the amount of points you get will go up. So the higher your team cost, the higher the opponent's team cost. The higher the opponent's team cost, the more points you get for killing them. The other things which affect your points, and this is part of why crit is so important. A basic attack will give you half the amount of kill. If you kill the opponent with a basic attack, it will give you half as many points as if you kill an opponent with a super attack. So a super attack gives you double points. If you kill an opponent with a super effective attack, it will give you twice as many points as a type neutral or ineffective attack. Critical hits count as a super effective hit, so they will always give you double points, regardless of the type of the opponent you're attacking. Now, you might be thinking, LR Broly has attacks effective against all types and is passive. However, that passive does not count as having types effective for the purposes of points. So even if you're type effective from a passive boost, you still want max crit.
So it really has to be an AGL type attacking an STR type to get those points as type effective.
Yes, that's right. And it has to be an up arrow, or it has to be an arrow. The arrow which shows you your type effectiveness has to be pointing either diagonally up or straight up. Any other orientation means you're getting half as many points.
Now, is it known if crit and type effective stack, or no? Do we know, or is it just a no?
No, it does not stack.
Okay.
Crits count as type effectiveness.
Okay.
So if you were hypothetically facing an all-tech type team with your Int Piccolo, then regardless of whether you crit or not, you would get the same amount of points.
Okay. That's good to know. Now, back to the team building question.
Yes.
As you can see here, I've got a fairly effective World Tournament team. I've got 299 cost units, the best unit in the game for World Tournament, Int Piccolo, the second best unit, Strength Piccolo, after his EZA, and then I have Nappa and Super Boo.
Yes. So, I'm going to send you another chart here.
Oh, more
to
charts. I like charts.
Yes, this is the super attack speed chart. This is relevant only if you're grinding at the very top. But also, even if you aren't grinding at the very top, it just makes sense to bring the best team you possibly can.
Absolutely.
So even if you're only aiming to get your missions done, you can get them done slightly faster if you bring a slightly better team.
Absolutely. That's here. Here we are.
So big thanks to Misaka for this chart.
Shout out to Misaka
also
1
the person who
right
does
here.
all of the chain battle chart.
Yeah, the legendary Misaka.
Yeah. This shows you the speed at which your unit will kill all 7 enemies if they perform a super attack. So, a unit like that newly released in LR Goku, who otherwise seems like he might be decent for World Tournament, ends up being really bad because the super attack is too slow. Even though he will kill all of the opposing enemies, he'll do it half as fast as someone like Strength Piccolo, which is just not viable.
Now wait a minute. According to this chart, I should be taking Tech Majin Vegeta. He's the fastest. And then AGL Majin Vegeta. Why don't I want to do that?
You don't want to do that because, well, there's 2 different reasons. Tech Majin Vegeta you don't want to take because, first of all, he's too weak to reliably kill, and second of all, as a non-DFE TUR, his team cost is significantly lower. So even though he'll kill faster, your points per hour will go down as a result of him lowering your team cost, and also just killing less often. AGL Majin Vegeta will kill reliably, and has a high team cost because he's an LR, but because he needs an 18 key to get his super, most of the time you're going to have to use an item in order to reliably get his 18 key off. Using an item also takes time. So that 11.3 gets an extra 2 seconds or so added onto it from using an item. And that's not so bad if it's just one item, but sometimes that Chilai won't work, and you'll have to use another item. That's another 2 seconds.
And then there's the whole time it takes to actually collect the orbs.
Yes, but that you have to collect orbs with everyone, so I'm not taking that into account.
Wow.
Except in Piccolo. Except from Int Piccolo. We'll get to him.
Okay.
That 17.7 right there. So we've got Int Piccolo in this chart, actually. That 17.7 seconds makes it look like he's slow.
Yep.
But because you get to skip the entire orb collecting phase, that saves you something like 7 seconds, maybe more.
And the animation
and he ends up
time.
being...
Actually, that 17.7 seconds, I believe, takes into effect as if you were watching the animation.
I don't believe that's true, but I haven't checked.
I mean, it does not feel like... I can confirm I just used his AoE. It did not take 17 seconds to use his active skill without the animation on.
I think that's from entering the turn.
Okay. Fair
that
enough.
includes the amount of time it takes for his extra skill. You know, when you get onto rotation,
Fair enough. That's
a little ball will appear and jump onto him. Good, it's stuff like that.
Okay. That's not terrible.
But overall, he ends up being faster than anyone else here. The other thing which makes him so good is that you don't have to use an item.
No.
So not only is he faster than the next best, but every other unit on this list, you will have to use a Ghost Usher in half or more of situations, adding 2 seconds to their time. Piccolo Jr., you never have to use an Usher first. Even if he fails to kill, his active will prevent 1 attack per opponent, which is all they do. So none of them will attack you after you've used your active skill.
Interesting. Now, Strength Piccolo. Obviously, he's the fastest choice that I'm running. I'm not running Majin Vegeta. I don't think he's good enough.
Yeah. This loops back to what we were talking about before. Crits deal more damage, and Strength Piccolo gets guaranteed crits. And he's also exceptionally fast. So his lower team cost is made up for the fact that he gets twice as many points from, because the highest critical hit rate you can get with most units is 50%-ish. Slightly higher. Maybe 60 if you're a Strength or Tech type, but the only one you're realistically using there is Strength Broly. So his guaranteed crits combined with his fast super attack speed allows him to outpoint the competition very significantly.
Fair enough.
When it comes to building your team, you have two options. There are two kinds of teams prevalent in the World Tournament right now, which is actually very different. For almost the entire time World Tournament has been around, actually, for the entire time the World Tournament has been around, before the release of Int Piccolo, there was always one viable team and only one. As of right now,
For the top grinders.
there are two. For the top grinders, yeah. You could have a variation on the team, but the essential style of the team was the same. It would be the same 4 or 5 units, with the other 2, or the other 1 or 2, being additional units who very rarely actually super attack, but are there to augment the others. So, in the very beginning, that would be, you'd take the TUR Strength Broly, and a bunch of support units for him. You'd take the Strength SR Bulma, because she gave Strength type C plus 3. Things like that. Right now, there are two teams. The Physical Ginyu-led team, and the Int Piccolo-led team. If Int Piccolo is able to kill reliably, the Physical Ginyu team is better. So this particularly applies if you have a lot of dupes in your Int Piccolo, and a lot of crit. If he doesn't kill, then all of those advantages I listed earlier, where you don't have to do orb collecting, are gone. Instead, he slows you down significantly, because you have to go through that phase in addition to watching his relatively long active skill animation of 17.7 seconds. The Int Piccolo leader skill means that he will never run into that situation. His leader skill is high enough that most of the time, if not all of the time, he will kill every enemy. But the trade-off for having him as the leader is most of the best units, or a lot of the better units from World Tournament, don't fit under his leader skill. Physical Krillin is one of the most reliable units. He's an AoE, LR, with 99 team cost, and a not that slow super attack. His super attack is reasonably fast. And of course, since he's free, you can rainbow him. So he's a very reliable pick who cannot go on Int Piccolo's team. It's a lot of it's down to preference. Personally, I favor the Physical Ginyu team. I found that I never don't kill with my Int Piccolo, or extremely rare. So I favor a Physical Ginyu-led team. My team, and the team I recommend that you would run, is Physical Ginyu leader with Int Piccolo, Strength Piccolo, LR Broly, LR Krillin, and one more. This one's up to preference. It should be an LR, preferably possibly an AoE LR, possibly a support LR. LR Jackie Chun is a good support unit who will help your Int Piccolo kill more reliably. Or LR Vegeta and Nappa. They won't kill in finals, but they will kill quickly in prelims. It's down to A, preference, and B, the amount of dupes you have available in your unit. If you have LR Nappa with no dupes, I probably wouldn't put him on the team. If you have him 2 dupes or more, then I'd probably put him in the last one.
Okay. So, what about the friend leader? Does the leader skill matter?
So for the friend leader, not only does the leader skill not matter, as I'm sure most people know, the team cost also does not contribute. So you could take a low team cost friend lead, and the opposing teams you'll find will be the same every time. As such, you always want to take either Int Piccolo or Strength Piccolo, because those two are the best units, and the only thing that holds them back is their lower team cost. And they're still the best in spite of their lower team cost. So always, always, always take either Int Piccolo or Strength Piccolo. When I'm grinding the World Tournament, I set my friends, select two Namekians, Int and Strength, and I pick the first one on there.
Just make sure you don't grab the LR in Piccolo instead.
Yeah, some people will set their lead as Int Piccolo just to mess with you. The LR.
Yep. So do we know at this time how much the actual team cost matters? Like, what's the cutoff for the team cost? Because I remember a while back we were talking about team builds and did some maths that we found we can get a 450 point team cost team that would be running only one 99 cost LR.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not a very exact science. There's a lot of luck involved, because even if you take a full 99 team cost team in, it will still give you a random enemy team which leans towards the team cost of your one. So it's very difficult to reliably measure because there's so much RNG involved, and we just don't understand the formulas behind it. What we do know is that higher team cost means higher team cost enemies means more points.
And that's what allows us to run the Int and Strength Piccolo on a team. Because the rest of the unit's higher team costs hit a threshold of some kind. We just don't know what the threshold is, correct?
Potentially, yes.
That
Honestly,
is the running theory.
No one knows for sure.
That is the running theory.
Yes.
I don't even know if Amatsu knows.
I would be surprised if he does.
Okay, so here we see on this list the best units as a whole. I'm gonna say the top 10 units to run. Int Piccolo or Physical Ginyu are must. I think they're both must runs on either way. Either leader,
yes,
doesn't matter, but they should both be on the team because he's a support. Gives key. He gives key and support. So even if he's not on your leader, he's a 99 cost LR that should be there.
Yes, absolutely. Ease at aid as well, preferably.
Yeah, preferably.
But if he's not ease at aid, he shouldn't be your leader, but he can still fit on the team. He still gives 3 key.
And supports.
Which is the most important part of the support.
Yep. So Int Piccolo and Physical Captain Ginyu should be on, Physical Captain Ginyu should be on everyone's team if they have them.
Yes. The 3 units, I would say, are absolute must-runs if you own them, are that LR Captain Ginyu, Int Piccolo, and Strength Piccolo.
Okay. And Strength Piccolo is an old banner unit that EZA'd last Worldwide Celebration, so a lot of people should have them, or should be able to acquire him with ease through doing summons.
Yes, that's right. And if he's on rotation, you should always prioritize supering with him, or Int Piccolo.
Well, active skilling with Int Piccolo, never super with Int Piccolo.
Yes, that's right.
Always use the active skill. Alright, so those 3 are must-runs. Now, STR Broly, as long as you have 2 dupes in him, should be on the team.
Yes.
On most teams.
So, for the rest of the team,
we're going to assume that they have at least 2 dupes with each unit that we're going to go through here.
So, what you should be doing if you're trying to build a World Tournament team is you should be putting the units that have the most dupes, as opposed to... So, if you have, any of these units, you should be prioritizing. First of all, you put on Piccolo, Ginyu, and Piccolo Jr. Those 3 should always be on if you own them. For the remaining slots, they should be AoE LRs that have the most dupes, or, more accurately, the most crit.
Yeah. So that's why
if you have LR Broly
Nappa,
with no dupes,
yep,
and LR Nappa with 2 dupes, you should put Nappa on instead of Broly.
Agreed. That's why my Nappa is on the team and not my Broly. My Broly only has 1 dupe. My Nappa is rainbowed.
Exactly.
I'm running Super Buu over Majin Vegeta. And that is because it is a lot easier for him to get his crits off, to get his 18 key off. I have
Yes.
not had a single issue getting his 18 key, where I've had far more issues with Majin Vegeta. Now, that could just be personal experience and not a recommendation, but his 18 key, if he's in slot 1, you can just pop a Ghost a Yama or two, and he'll get hit and build up his key as well. So he's got key built in, and his attack and defense raises. So he'll be able to get key and get his 18 key, even if you can't get enough key spheres most of the time.
That's also something very relevant to talk about. A lot of people may not be aware of this, but if you use 2 King Yamas, that is 100% damage reduction. That's how it counts. You will take no damage from any attack of any kind. You'll take 100, double digits to triple digit, because of the RNG factor. But no matter how high the attack stat of the opponent is, you won't die from it, unless you're at 1 HP.
You can eat 5 supers from 5 enemies with 2 King Yamas up and will not die.
Yes.
Now, so Super Buu is better than Majin Vegeta, in my opinion, if he has 2 dupes or more. My Majin Vegeta is Rainbow, my Super Buu is 2 duped, and I prefer the Super Buu. Also, he's got that special bronze skill orb, which gives him up to 3 crit.
Yes. The more crit, the better.
Yeah, which means he can get to 28 crit at maximum, which is 1 crit higher than any other unit can get. Well, not any other unit, but any other unit not on that skill orb.
Well, no, because Strength Broly, as a strength type, gets 5 more crit.
Sorry, well, non-strength unit can get. Because strength units always get the 5 crit.
Yes.
And
in my personal
as
opinion,
well,
I think Majin Vegeta is the better of the 2. Most of the time, you should not be supering with either of them, because most of the time, you'll be supering with Piccolo or Piccolo Jr.
It's only when you get the really bad rotation.
You do super,
that one rare bad
the
rotation.
Yeah. But most of the time, when you super, Chilai followed by Majin Vegeta's 18 key will be faster than Super Boo's super attack. However, it doesn't make an enormous difference, because, as I said, most of the time, it's going to be Int Piccolo or Strength Piccolo.
That's very true. And at that point, it's just a preference. Physical Krillin should only run if you're running Ginyu as your leader. Otherwise, he's not on the team.
Absolutely.
He just doesn't make the cut.
Absolutely. You need a leader skill. That's... The only units you don't need a leader skill for are units you are never planning to super attack with.
Alright, just looking at this list. Physical Broly, he's a TUR. I don't recommend him. We've already got 2 TURs, and he's just not good enough.
Yeah. I think we've already gone through everyone relevant on this list.
Cell?
All of the
Physical
LRs
Cell
can be run. Yes,
okay.
So all of the LRs on this list that we haven't touched on can be run. You should just run whichever one of these you have the most dupes in.
And crit.
Don't run the TURs. Because apart from Strength Piccolo and In Piccolo, the TURs are just objectively worse than the LRs to run. So don't run the TURs.
True.
Any LRs who have AoE, you should run whichever ones you have the most crits available on.
True. Alright, is there anything else you want to talk to the people at home about for the World Tournament, now that we've gone over the important builds, how to get points, how many
there
points
is one
you need
more
to top
thing
10?
which is a little miscellaneous, but is very important for people to know if they don't look at a unit's kit very often, or a lot of Dokkan terminology can be quite confusing. So when you're using Int Piccolo Jr.'s active skill, there are 2 things you should do before you swipe up. First thing you should do is put him in the second slot, because he gets a lot more attack when he's in slot 2.
You can also leave him in slot 3.
The second thing you should do... Yes, slot 3 or slot 2. I always move him to slot 2 because it requires less thinking. The second thing you should do is choose your target. Instead of letting it auto-select the first enemy in your opponent's rotation, choose the furthest unit to the right that doesn't resist his super attack. The reason for this is because every time he hits an enemy, up to the 5th enemy that he hits, his attack will rise. So on this team here, for example, that you're fighting right now, if you were to use Piccolo's active skill, you would hit the physical Ginyu first, and then you would hit the other unit.
We don't want to do that.
If you choose someone else as the first target, then you'll hit, let's say that LR Hercule, you hit Hercule first, you get a 20% boost to your attack, and then you hit Ginyu. Your attack stat will be higher, and you'll be able to kill more reliably.
Yeah, because it'll automatically go, once you kill a unit anywhere in the line, it'll automatically go to the first one in line.
That's right.
It won't go in order.
So just to recap, move him to slot 2, and target a unit late in the rotation. Target a unit, the furthest unit to the right that you can, that doesn't resist his super. The furthest non-physical unit you can target.
I'll give them a visual example right now as I'm hopping into the finals. So here, I'm going to leave him in slot 3 here. And right now, I don't have a physical target in the first slot, but let's say if I did, I'd target Frieza here and then swipe up.
Yes. I would... It's a lot easier if you just make a habit to always do it. That way you don't have to think about it. You just always click the last slot, swipe up. It takes all the brain power out of the equation.
Thinking hurts. He's right.
And it takes time.
It does. It does. If you have to actually look to see who it is, that could take more time out of your run. By the way, that's my 150th win in this World Tournament.
Congratulations.
We grinding, folks. Alright, is there anything else you want to say? Any shout-outs you want to make? Because I think we're going to wrap this video here.
Yep, one more thing to say before the video ends, which is subscribe.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Like you said, subscribe. We love y'all. Catch you in the next video. Have a good one.